In terms of symptoms caused by bacteria, bacteria oftentimes cause leaf spots. The leaf spots caused by bacteria oftentimes are a little bit different than those caused by fungi. I mentioned with fungi that leaf spots tend to be roughly circular. With the bacterial leaf spots, they're oftentimes angular. That is, if you look at those spots, oftentimes the edges look very, very straight. And that's because oftentimes bacteria get into leaves, they are able to colonize, but when they get to veins, they're not able to cross the veins, and the veins delimit the edge of the infected area. Also with bacterial leaf spots, oftentimes you see a slight yellow halo around the dead tissue. So anytime I see an angular leaf spot with a yellow halo, my first thought is that I'm probably dealing with a bacterial pathogen. The disease shown in this particular slide is one called bacterial brown spot. It's a disease that's near and dear to my heart because this is the disease that I studied for my PhD work. The bacterium that causes this disease is called Pseudomonas syringae pathovar syringae, and it's what's called an ice nucleating organism. I mentioned that bacteria, if you look at their structure, they have that bacterial chromosome, there's a membrane around that, and then an outer wall. In this particular bacterium, there's also an outer membrane, and embedded in that outer membrane is a protein that mimics an ice crystal. So this particular organism is involved in frost damage on plants. You can usually cool plants like a snap bean plant down to around 28 degrees Fahrenheit before they will spontaneously freeze. If you add a lot of this particular bacterium to the plant, it will actually freeze at a higher temperature. And that's because of this protein in the outer membrane that mimics an ice crystal. This particular phenomenon was actually discovered at the University of Wisconsin. There was a graduate student in the plant pathology department. He was studying a corn disease, and he was using leaves that were infected with a fungal pathogen. He was grinding those up and then spraying it across his plots as inoculum. And he did this one afternoon. There was a frost that evening, and all of the plots that he had inoculated frosted overnight, and the ones that he had not inoculated didn't freeze. And he eventually found that these leaves that he was grinding up were covered with this particular bacterium. In fact, this Pseudomonas organism is what's called an epiphyte. It actually naturally lives on leaf surfaces, oftentimes without causing disease. In this particular case, there was enough of the bacterium in this mix to induce frost damage on the plants. This particular organism has a useful application. Folks have used Pseudomonas, or at least the protein derived from it, to help make artificial snow.